Yes, we are here, Seattle Soca Live. It's Friday, guys, and it's gonna be a great interview with Melvin, super awesome top drummer from Marshall Montano and various artists in the Caribbean. He's gonna get on in about on the top of the hour, so at 5 p.m. Pacific time, and talk about his journey and his experience in the industry as far as soca and being one of the top drummers. So it's going to be a cool interview, and really looking forward to this one. And we're going to leave it up here, and also I'm going to be posting these podcasts on various outlets, Spotify, and right here on IG, so, and on Anchor. So make sure and download those apps because it's gonna be a weekly vibe with me, and I'm gonna try my best to get you the best interviews, right? So you could hear all about the soca, all of the players, the great players in soca music today, and work our way up, right? To get Seattle and the rest of the world familiar with sweet soca music. You know what I mean? So, this being the second episode, I want to start off with my introduction, of course. Another Adam Smith quote. Wherever there is great property, there is great inequality. For one very rich man, there must be at least 500 poor. Yes, Adam Smith quote. And today my random topic is God is real. God is great. I think when this came to mind, every corner I turned today, I was reminded how great God is. So that's my random topic today. And it made me remember of a time when I was a youth in Trinidad growing up, and I left school early one day with my buddies. And whenever I'm having a bad time or a bad day, whatever, I remember this, and it reminds me that there's always somebody looking out for me. And hopefully you could use this as well to remind you that there's always somebody looking out for you. And you don't have to believe in any specific religion, but believe in something. Believe that there's an energy, there's a creator, because it's going to center you when you're most needed. But I left school early. I don't know what I was doing, but I left school early to go do something boys do, as a youth. And we were crossing this major highway, and I ran across the street without even looking, without paying attention to, the traffic or anything. And I'm not kidding you. Something stopped me in my tracks, people. Something stopped me in my tracks in the middle of the road. I mean, there's nothing to explain it. It was like a force that stopped me. And when I stopped, a car just zoomed by. Zoom. Just like that. I didn't see it coming. I mean, I was running across the street. Like, not paying attention, just gunning it to get to the next side. And this happened in Trinidad, and I can tell you exactly where it happened. So the people from Trinidad, if you've been in Trinidad or whatever, so right around the savannah, where there's a girl high school called Holy Name Convent, and right before you get to that school, and right across on the opposite side, there's usually where they set up the stalls around carnival time for people to sell and stuff. And there's always like a guy selling corn soup there. You could always get some really delicious corn soup there. Anyway, it was probably around 1:30 p.m. and so a bit after the lunch rush, you know. Yeah, and we left early so we could get down in the city, get down in Port of Spain early, right? And yeah, I just ran across the street and just something just stopped me, man. And it was just like, boom, this car just fly by. And I looked back at my friends and they were, you know, their mouths were open. You know, they were like, oh my God, you know, they probably thought I was done, you know. And yeah, you know, after that I always say, yo, I know for sure that there's a God and there's somebody looking over me, and you know, hope, and you know, maybe that happened so that I could share that today with you guys, right? Either way, I want you to believe in something, believe in the Most High, believe in an energy, believe in something that's there, right? I prefer to say God. I grew up Catholic, you know. I'm not super into religion anymore, you know, but I know for a fact that there is God. There's other stuff too that I could, you know, maybe one day tell you about, that, you know, but that's a story that comes to mind right away. Yeah, man. So on the top of the hour, we're gonna be having Melvin, and we're gonna talk about the drumming and everything. But in the meantime, I'm going to drop some sweet soca music, and we're gonna come right back with Melvin.
Coming for carnival.
Now we're dropping a whole lot of Marshall because he's the drummer for Marshall as well. You know, if a man doing that, it's big thing, you know. It's Friday somewhere. It's Friday here definitely. And we vibes in. Like I said, we got an interview with the top drummer, Melvin. He's gonna be jumping on here at the top of the hour. In the meantime, I want to be bringing you some vibes. Let's go. I'm about it. And we're gonna ask him if he was part of making some of these beats, you know? Yes.
Come let me jack it up, no friend. Bring the thing, just back it up, no friend. Come here and wine, no friend. Come here and wine, no friend. Come let me lift it up, no friend. Bring the thing, just give it up. You could wine back, bossy. Yes, I like that, baby, no scene. You could push back, say me like that. Give me 100, girl, no tack. You could juke in the night time. Hey, when you see the double M sign, girl, put me in a gazy trance. When I see you do that crazy dance. Up like slave, up red. Girl, tick it up, girl, tick it up, up red. Like half past one, put it like this. What the fuck going on, up red. Girl, see me, girl, see me, like when it's okay, up red.
Just getting off of work.
It's time for work. No losing. No stop and pose.
You're done with it for the day, yes.
Before me girl walk it up fast, no slowing. When I get in behind the wine like you don't feel no clothing.
It's time to celebrate. It's the weekend. Seattle Soca Live. I'm here to bring you home.
Wine and rock it up. Bend right over, cock it up.
Help you walk up in your bedroom.
Follow me home, girl, back it up.
On your IG.
Girl, back it up. Bring it, let me mash it up. Take girl, what's your occupation? Who's a whining pro?
Yes.
Certified whiner. And do you be working? Concentrate on working. Flexing up and rolling. Move up to controlling. Let me see you go. Nice man at work. Now you're in a corner, squeeze up. Just watch how you things start heat up. Rest of the time, it's still not easy up. Yes, I'm still watching. Girl, right, this shit till the body wants freeze up. You say you wanna get me real slow. When what you for, girl, I see you walking up. You want to wine and rock it up. Bend right over, cock it up. Mount up, mount up, mount up, mount up, mount up.
If you're gonna be gymming it this evening,
Spin class, jump on the bike, start to ride fast.
spin class.
Spin class, everybody come with the dance. Spin class is a dancing craze, jump on the bike and start with your wheels.
Yes.
Fast like a white race, some kind of shit to get you in the shape. Spin class is a brand new dance, if you see the girl them in the tight pants. What's on the new body, girl in a trance. It's an inch up and London, France. Mash up, reach me, walk slow down, to the biggest.
I know after you get to the spin class and your body get real good and looking nice,
Slow down, slow down, slow down. Body's so amazing, got me in amazement.
post workouts.
The things you do, oh yeah. Girl, you got me gazing, caught up in your amazing. Now I only want you. Start to wine is high time, girl, walk that face is my time.
Walk it up, walk it up.
My time, wanna walk that day and night time. Now don't you go like white line, girl, walk and have a nice time. Like you don't have a nice time, nice time. Just do it, girl, and what I find in charge of my life. But I want to wine, so I'm coming to you, to you, to you. Walk for the walk, don't stop. Now you're in charge of whining. But I want to wine, you know I'm coming to you, to you, to you. Why not go and talk? This is nice, nice, baby. Close your eyes, try it, baby. You're the truth. I salute you, I try it, baby. For you, the move. I've never seen a girl like you. Start to wine, it's my time. Girl, walk that this is my time. Girl, walk it up, girl, it's my time. Wanna walk that day and night time. No, don't be rude like white line. Girl, walk and have a nice time. Like a bumper, have a nice time, nice time. Just do it, girl, and wine, wine. You're in charge of whining. But I want to wine, say I'm coming to you, to you, to you. Walk for the walk, don't stop. Love you in charge of whining. When I want to wine, you know I'm coming to you, to you, to you. Why you go down and drop the road down? Oh, you have to go down, oh baby, go down. And you cannot slow down, take it down slow. Oh, you have to go down, oh baby, go. And you cannot slow down, take it down slow. What kind of wine you have? What kind of wine you have? What kind of wine you have? If you come here and wine, don't fret. Come here and wine, don't fret. Say come let me jack it up, don't fret. Bring the thing, just back it up, don't fret. Come here and wine, don't fret. Come here and wine, don't fret. Say come let me lift it up, don't fret. Bring the thing, just give it up. Say you could wine back, bossy. Yes, I like that, baby, no scene. You could push back, say me like that. Give me 100, girl, no tack. You could juke in the night time. Hey, when you see the double M sign, get it in and get a chance for that.
Yes. Like I said, coming up on the hour, Melvin, Alick. Marshall Montano. This is Seattle Soca. Yes. What you do now? Wind up, wind up. Tuning it up, guys. Seattle Soca lifestyle. Yes. What? Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Hey. Yeah. All right. It's a remix soca thing, you know what I mean? Soca in all kind of styles, you know? Check this out, it's gonna be vibes.
She know me. Oh, she must have heard about the way I be. I pull her body to me slowly. Yeah, she whispered to me, are you ready for me?
We're up here in Seattle, guys. Seattle, Washington. Bringing you some nice vibes. Gonna make you sweat. Yes. Coming up on the hour, we got a cool interview. Melvin Alick. We're gonna be pumping it out, yeah? If you're ready for this beautiful weekend, vibes in with this IG Energy Live, big respect to you. Seattle Soca Live. Come feel the vibe with me, activate the vibe. This is vibes. Yes, yes, yes. Let's feel the vibe together now. Yeah. What? Let's go, let's go. Vibes up now. Like I said, in about 5 minutes we're gonna have an interview. Top drummer, Melvin. with Melvin. Top drummer for Marshall Montano right now.
Come here and wine and go fresh. Come here and wine and go fresh. Say come let me jack it up, go fresh. Bring the thing, just back it up, go fresh. Come here and wine and go fresh. Come here and wine and go fresh. Say come let me lift it up, go fresh. Bring the thing, just keep it up, fresh. You could wine back, OC. Yes, I like that, baby, no see. You could push back, say me like that. Give me 100, girl, no tack tack. You could juke in the night time. Say, when you see the double M sign, girl, put me in a gazy chance. But I still do that crazy dance. Walk like slave, walk friend. Girl, tick it up, girl, tick it up, no friend. Like how pass one to the leg, then one, but it's still going on, no friend. Girl, spin it up, girl, spin it up, till it is so get that place. I'm so mad up, your face, she rolling, she waves. She look like she want me come and deal with she waves. That girl, you look good. Say, oh, you look good. I'm watching where one night make me all up. I would have see on the junction. I would have see on the junction.
In the junction,
I would jump she on the junction, the junction,
in the junction.
I would walk she on the junction, the junction, on the junction. I would jump she on the junction, the junction, on the junction. I have the right away, girl. I wanna jump you right away, girl. I wanna jump you right away, girl. On the junction, on the junction. I have the right away, girl. I wanna jump you right away, girl. I wanna jump you right away, girl. On the junction, on the junction. Who's that girl you want that way, girl? Don't want to let me want that way, girl. You never know what I want, cold day, girl. Right from the junction. Who's that girl you want that way, girl? Don't want to let me want that way, girl. Go ahead and listen to what girl way, girl. Right from the junction. She on the junction, the junction, on the junction. I would jump she on the junction, the junction, on the junction. I would walk she on the junction, the junction, on the junction. I would jump she on the junction, the junction, on the junction. When I get the green light, I will show my intention. I bet the engine light on the intersection. Too slow, then I go ride on the bumper. If it's all that I have a jumper. Rough it up and wine like a monster jam, making she fall. Oh, Lord, woman, rock with a wine so, girl. My kind of wine and social. Tip it on the toe, girl. Oh, girl, oh, girl. Come up to me so low, girl. Face all like it's slow, girl. Queen of is a man, oh, girl. I would jump she on the junction, the junction, on the junction. I would jump she on the junction, the junction, on the junction. I would jump she on the junction, the junction, on the junction. I would jump she on the junction, the junction. We get it on bad, bad, bad. Everybody misbehaving. We get it on bad, bad, bad. I never see so much people jumping, jumping. We get it on bad, bad, bad. I get right on this time. This is the place to be, to unwind. Just set your spirit free, let go. Be what you feel to be. Just let the music take control. Take a little wine, or start to chip to the beat. Have a time, 'cause that even belong to me. And nobody can take it, you know it's the greatest. It's time for us to show the world. 'Cause when we in a
IG Live here. There he is. Alright, let me line up my recording here. Alright. Alright, and we are back here with Melvin, Alick. What's going on, brother?
What's up, man? How's it?
Can you hear me good?
Yeah, man. Correct.
Nice. Well,
Nice.
thank you so much for supporting the overseasness of bringing in the soca.
Sure, man. Sure. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yes. So, man, I mean, where to start? I was checking out your website and everything, and first of all, let me get my chair real quick.
Sure, no problem. Make yourself at home. I am as well too.
So for some reason, you sound low,
Better?
but let me see if I could turn up the volume here. There it is. All right.
Okay,
I
cool.
think I can hear you way better now.
Okay, nice.
Nice. Yes. So, well, first off, I was looking through Instagram, looking at soca and stuff, and I see this man tearing up some drums, So I was like, yo, I have to get him on here because, I'm spreading the soca here in Washington, in Seattle, Washington, right?
Nice. Yeah.
Doing events and stuff like that. Well, the COVID here now, so
Of
messing
course.
stuff up.
Yeah.
But anyway, I say, look, I need to really dig in, get as much artists, musicians, everything, so people could
Sure.
really feel the vibe,
Yeah. Good stuff.
So with that said, tell me about Melvin. How did you, tell me about Melvin, man.
Sure. Well, I'm Melvin Alick. I was born in Bermuda, but I came to Barbados when I was about maybe 2 or so. So I've spent most of my life living here in Barbados. So Bermuda will always be home. Barbados is like my second home away from home. But like I said, I've pretty much lived here all my life. So this is really home. I've been playing since maybe since I was maybe 4 or 5 years old. I remember specific points as I got a little bit older. So I remember when I got like 9. I was playing at church, and there was a guy who got me into playing a little bit. His name is Bruce Lynch. I give him a lot of credit because he was the first person who actually like walked me over to a kid and showed me how to play a basic groove. And that's pretty much where the wheels started to turn from there. Grew up in church. I'm still very involved in church here. And so I came from the gospel scene. When I was about 16, I started to get even more serious about it. Went to high school, of course, then I went to University of West Indies, and even while I was at the University of West Indies, I was trying to decide what was I going to do in terms of career and stuff, and I was like, one thing that I really loved was music.
Right.
At that point in time, when I was in college, I went to the Barbados Community College here. Music was not offered as a degree program at that time. So
Okay.
When I started UE, I was always good at math. So I was like, all right, well, I'll definitely do like something based around math and stuff. But my passion was always for drums and music. And I said, I want to follow my heart. I want to do what I feel is what I really love to do. And when I left UE, I was like, well, I'm going to find a way to get into music full time. I didn't know how it was going to work.
Right.
But I was like, whatever it takes for me to get it done, I will get it done. So after that, I was working at Scotiabank here in Barbados for 2 years, but always with my mind towards taking steps towards being able to go into music full time. And I left the bank May 2004. So this is now 16 years I've been doing this as my job.
So at 16 years, who was the first band that you played for by that time?
Sure. Well, I left, like I said, I left the bank May 2004, and I started to do some gigs here in Barbados, playing like jazz clubs and stuff. And believe it or not, in February of 2005, I got a call to start doing some work with Rupee. What happened there was that his band was primarily Bajan based, and his drummer, who is now one of the half of the producers of the Red Boys team, Scott Gall and Mikey Hausmeyer. Mikey was playing drums with Rupi at that time, and what happened was his grandfather suddenly got sick, got pretty ill, and
Wow.
a good friend of mine who was playing with Rupi then, who I used to jam with him, Barbados, a guy by the name of Miles Robertson. He used to play for Adele, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy story. We grew up in our teens playing music together and stuff, and literally he calls me like, if I remember well, this was like a Monday or Tuesday afternoon. He was like, "Yo, Mel, Mikey's grandfather is not feeling well. We got a show to do in LA this weekend. Do you think you'd be up to coming and subbing?" So this is what, it's maybe 8-9 months into me doing music full time. So I was like, well, yeah. He's like, all right, well, I recommended you. You are the person. The guys asked me who they thought would be the best person to get to be able to do it. And I tell them, man, they got this cat that I jam with all the time. I feel he could cut it. So they called me a Tuesday afternoon. They're like, can you make rehearsal tonight at 7? I was like, all right, cool. So I went into rehearsal, didn't know any of the material. Yes, I would have known, like, Tempted to Touch, but I didn't know his show. So walked into the rehearsal blind. We ran through everything, and I said, all right, just give me a show. If you guys have any shows recorded, I guarantee you I'll go home, I'll learn it exactly as it is, and we'll come back and run it. So fortunately, they had the previous 2 shows up until that point recorded. So I went home the Tuesday night, and I didn't sleep at all. It was basically like an hour and 15-minute show. And
Wow.
I was literally up till Wednesday morning. The sun was coming out. I went through the entire show, you know. And the interesting thing too was back then I didn't have a way of necessarily learning material like I would have developed over the years. So
Like,
it was a lot
like
of
reading the music and stuff.
yeah, like
No
I
reading
was nowhere as efficient as I am now as I was back then, because I was now getting my feet wet. So it was literally jump in and try to swim. And
Wow.
I just wrote everything down as much as I could, listened to the stuff over and over. We had another rehearsal the Wednesday afternoon. So I went back to rehearsal. So the guys were like, all right, you think you're good with the show? I said, well, let's run it and see. And we ran the show once from top to bottom. No mistakes.
Whoa. So wait,
And-
so, you know, between ages, and I was reading some of your biography, right? You said
Sure.
at 9 years old, you basically learn in 15 minutes how to play something.
Play
right?
a basic groove. Yeah, pretty much.
So you already had the capacity for, you know, the capacity and the love and the drive. So tell me, like, so between ages 9 to 15, how did you, so, you know, besides the church, how did you get to practice? You know, how did you get to go crazy?
It was church, literally.
In church,
Because
in church.
because I mean, the church I was going to then, we did like 4 services on Sunday. We would do band rehearsal on Tuesday nights. Then there'll be the band used to play for the choir, so we used to do Thursday night. So that's all I was doing. Just
So
playing
how did
church.
it go over? How did it go over with your mom or your dad? It's
sure,
walk
go
up
ahead, tell
time.
me.
When walk
Yeah.
up time start? How did that go?
Well, that was interesting too, because like I said, by that time, this was, like I said, that was February of 2005. I had gotten married. I just got married in 2004. So I was on my own. I was doing my own thing, you know.
Right.
But interestingly enough, my dad was very involved with a very prominent gospel band in its early days here in Barbados. It's actually one of the biggest gospel bands in the region, a band called Promise. So
Okay.
he always had a very strong background as far as music was concerned and stuff. So he definitely knew that something was there in terms of those seed planted in terms of me, in terms of wanting to pursue it to some level and stuff. And
Right.
My mom really recognized, I think by the time I got to UE and I was like really starting to get into the throes of it from the gospel scene here, because like I said, coming up from the gospel scene, I really started to play a lot on the gospel scene here. So I would play with gospel artists, even as you would have seen on the website. During that time, just before I went into it full time in 2004, I had a chance to start working with Chevelle Franklin, a lot of the Jamaican reggae artists who had become Christians at that point. So like
Okay.
Chevelle Franklin, Junior Tucker.
So you were the person giving all those. I remember that time when a lot of them became, went into gospel, and they had that, and gospel got that kind of boom, 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 kind of beat in it,
Yes, correct.
and they
Yeah.
start bringing it. So could you say we could attribute that to you?
Well, I mean, I could say I want to say attribute it to me, but I mean, I was just very blessed at that time because their following was so big from them being dancehall artists already. So
Right.
when, because it kind of happened in like a 2-year period where all of a sudden like Chevelle became a Christian, and then I think before Chevelle, I think it may have been Papa San first, then Chevelle, and then
Right.
Stitchy and stuff like that. So
Yes.
there was this whole new wave of music that was very, so for want of a better word, controversial in terms of the Christian community, because there's like, these guys coming over from the secular world and what have you. So
Yes.
it was new then, and it was kind of controversial and stuff, but it was music that people connected with because it's from our roots,
Yes.
The message of it was more of a holistic spiritual nature. So,
Right.
as with things that are new like that, it's a little controversial at first, but then you had more folks who came over from doing dancehall and wanting to do like more gospel dancehall and stuff. So it started off being a thing, but as progressed with time, it became more of where the music was at, where the culture was at, where the demographics were beginning to change, because you had a lot of younger voices coming into gospel and stuff like that.
Right.
So yeah, so that made it reasonably easy transition for me to get into it, and it was great connecting with them because a lot of the big Jamaican producers were working with them. There was a guy called Danny Brownie from, I think his label was called Main Street Records. He was one of the biggest producers in Jamaica at that point in time, like maybe just below Sly and Robbie. Big.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was really cool when Chevelle came down to get a chance to meet her, to meet him, so many things that he was able to share with me just in relation to the approach to playing the music. Because like I said, I mean, I was now really beginning to get my feet wet into it stuff. So those were some really good connections that I think created a good springboard within my mind that, one, this is something that I can do. I have what it takes. And there are a lot of opportunities there. Once you're very good at what you do, once you take what you do seriously, that there are many doors that could open up for you.
And you're focused, right? Because, I was thinking, like where, so let me see here. I know I have some specific questions that I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, man.
So who would you consider to be the biggest artist that you've backed to date?
Wow. Woo. Biggest artist. Well, I've had the opportunity to play for Drake. A lot of these opportunities came with Marshall because
Okay.
Because of course through doing Marshall Mondays, where we would back all of the guest artists. So any guest that would have come to Trinidad for the show, or even artists out on the road. Drake has a festival called OVO Fest.
Yeah.
We did that in 2017, and I believe we did it in 2018 also. That was huge, right on Eco Beach, right in Toronto. He came out, he performed with us on stage. So we've done him. I've done Sean Paul. I've done Shaggy. I've done Beanie Man. So I mean, those are all some of the biggest names that you could think of. This year we did Teddy Riley and Black Street.
Yeah.
You'll see there too. Here in Barbados, a good few years back, I was privileged to play for Patti LaBelle. you know, and she is, I mean, when you talk about one of the all-time divas,
I think that's probably that's gotta be the
that's
biggest. I mean,
probably, yeah,
all time.
yeah,
Patti
yeah. So
LaBelle.
I would say, yeah, maybe her and Teddy Riley and Blackstreet just underneath. And
Right.
then of course our own regional, because like I said, we have like Sean Paul, Shaggy Beanie Man, who are not just big dancehall artists, but they're crossover artists. So
Okay.
those, also Omi as well too. We did Omi. Remember Omi had cheerleader,
Yes.
really big record. Yeah, so he came to Marshall Monday. I want to say maybe 2016, between 2016 2017. So yeah, so
Man,
a bunch
you
of
know,
different people, man.
I feel like people overlook, you know, to me, when I think about music, I want to say that drums is like what brings the whole vibe, the whole energy,
Yeah,
you know,
correct. Yeah.
and then the bass.
They often say that the band is only as good as the drummer. Like you can build a band around a drummer. If everybody else is a little shaky, but you got a good solid drummer, you can swap out guys. But if the drummer
Right.
is weak, it's like the foundation of a house. You
Yes.
can't put up windows and roofs and walls if the foundation has cracks. If it's gonna
Yeah. So what kind of pressure, what kind of pressure you feel, or are you totally in a zone and you're just remembering the set and working off of, muscle memory by the time you get on the stage? Is that what happens? You get in a zone, or do you feel a bit of nervousness?
It can vary. It sometimes depends on the nature of the actual gig. So let me use like 3 different contexts that I currently playing. So let's do Marshall. I've been with him now for, this would be 5 years, 5 going on 6 years now. So initially it was to just get accustomed to him, because no
Right.
2 shows, I repeat, no 2 shows in life have ever been the same. Ever.
Wow.
Ever, 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 ever. He is the most spontaneous artist I've ever worked with. So it's not really, to me, as much about skill. Yes, it is about skill, but it's about your ability to be able to follow him, keep your eyes on
Right.
him, and to be able to be spontaneous and react with him. Because he
Right.
is always, as he says, every night, the crowd is my horse, I am the jockey, and depending on the vibes I get, I ride at a different pace. Sometimes I gallop, sometimes I gallop times 10, sometimes
Yeah.
I gallop times 100.
But
So
I saw that.
with
I was
him,
like,
it's, yeah, with him, it's very, you have to watch it. And you even see, I post some of my vids from different points in time to show you that you have got to be watching him all the time, because
Right.
he is just going off of the vibes of the crowd and the energy and stuff. So you have to be locked into him. There's less. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Is there anything is there any such thing as a sleepy drummer?
Sorry.
A sleepy drummer, like a
Oh, well, let me tell you, nothing allows me to have the privilege of being able to be that guy.
You got to love. You got to love being awake and just being in the zone.
Go,
And just,
yeah.
Being there when it's time. Because
Yeah.
I was watching some of the videos and I saw where, what is it? Is it just like a hand signal or something that let you guys know that, okay,
Yeah,
next tune?
it may be listen, like I said, Marshall does so many crazy things. It could be a hand signal that he gives, and you have to be able to discern when that hand signal is for maybe one particular person in the band, or for a section of the band, or for the entire band. So
Wow.
having worked with him, and because we've kind of clued into, now don't get me wrong, we are never to the point where we coasting and we know what he's gonna do, but because of playing with him for so long, his body language, his intonations, you can kind of think, okay, I kind of sense what's gonna happen here, so you're prepared for something that's gonna happen. But you are never a case like, nah, man, I know what boy can do. No. Boy doesn't know what he's gonna do. Far less for us, So, but it's cool because I like the spontaneity of it. It keeps you on your toes. You can't zone out. You know, it keeps you very
Right.
fixed and very focused. And there are like
How do
two
you
other things
guys?
that I've done that have been good preparation for that. There's a guy called
The
Art
preparation, yes.
Tapping who I've toured with for a long time, and Nicholas Brank as well. To those guys, there's a lot of structure and spontaneity that happens, but there's a lot of things going on musically. So that is another level of intensity there. Things are not as spontaneous because we're pretty rehearsed, but a lot of the intensity is in what we have to do musically. For Marshall, the intensity is the music is not as complex, but
Okay.
what he's gonna do in terms of spontaneity on stage. So there are different levels of intensity depending on the particular artist. So one artist,
Okay.
I may have to be locked into the musical structure and form. So there are times I may be reading stuff off of my iPad or whatever. Then there are other artists now who are, the music is not complex. So in terms of the mechanics of what I have to do are not very hard, but I have to
Okay.
be watching them. I have to be clued into what all the variables that could happen, whether it's artists, whether it's visuals, whether it's dancers, you know. So your brain is
Pyrotechnics.
constantly on the side. Yeah. Telling you, it's crazy.
So what would you say is what is your pet peeve? What is a drummer's pet peeve?
A drummer's pet peeve. Skins bursting in the middle of a show. For sure.
Wow.
For sure. That has, I've been blessed that it hasn't happened too often.
Yes.
I could probably count on one hand, but there have been a couple times, yeah, where it happened. Unfortunately, well, I walk with my own gear, with my own snares and stuff, but then the sound company would provide backline gear, so I have the techs who can just come and swap out a snare quickly, you know, if it happens.
Wow.
Because whether it's a snare skin or any skin, because that affects your sound, you know, your
Right.
tone. You are responding to the vibes on stage, but also what you hear in terms of your
The
instrument.
velocity, right? The velocity.
Yeah. So like, and you can immediately tell when I'm playing. I can tell if maybe like the bottom skin of the snare has burst. That happened. That happened on a show we did with Marshall here in Barbados a couple years ago. We sound checked. Everything was good. We like 4 songs in. I bring on my hat on the snare plucks, and I immediately hear the bottom head rip. So I'm like waving to the tech guys, like, come, we gotta swap with the snare, or whatever, you know.
And you
So,
know, you know
yeah,
he said,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. And as for soca in particular, snares are a big deal. There are other genres of music where the snare is there, but it's not. I don't want to say that it's not as prominent, but it's not as critical all the way through because of the energy and the attack. The snare brings that. So the moment that gets hurt or something happens, we gotta swap it out quick because the audience they may not be able to articulate it right, but they could tell, wait, they got something that just happened that ain't got that same vibe. So
Yeah, they say, where's that? You know, where's that drum coming?
where's that bite? Yeah, precisely.
You don't feel it anymore, you know.
Yeah.
Man, I've had the opportunity, you know, in as a promoter, you know, so on the music side, I've done a lot of DJing and, you know, medium-sized promotions.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest band I was able to work with was Black Soil Band, you know.
Oh, nice.
And
Yeah, man.
man, and I think that really gave me the appreciation for the ability for people. And, you know, I was all the way in Alaska when I did this, you know, and, you know, to see those guys fly, they flew all the way up there. We brought in all the instruments and everything, you know, and we had the little, what do you call it? The rider, you know?
Yes, correct.
So,
yeah.
It was really interesting to see just off of a rider, you know, how they could bring the same music that you hear on the, you know, on the MP3,
On
you know,
on YouTube.
yeah.
Live. Yeah,
you know,
man.
you know, and
telling
I
you.
think that really gave me, you know, more love for the intricacies of
Yes.
all of the arrangement and not just, you know, thinking about oh man, I could do a track date. You know, I could just, you know, have a DJ play something. It's
the
different.
energy
It's
and the vibe is always different. And
yeah.
as you said, you know, it lets folks know that it's a specialist job. It's just like a doctor
Yes.
or a surgeon. There's a skill, there's an art. There's an art to be able to make something musical that can affect people emotionally. You know,
Right.
so
Right,
there's
right,
a
yes.
there's a skill and there's an art. So it's just as much. It takes just as much work and just as much skill and just as much effort as a surgeon, because he can save your life, but he can't walk onto the stage and create necessarily a vibe and create a mood. You know, you may have just come from a real stressful day and just come into the vibes of a show or an event and hear something musically that connects with you on an emotional level that just changes your entire mood, you know? So there's a
Yes.
skill, there's an art to that. There's an art to creating a set list and building a show and creating visuals and music and everything for whether it's for an hour, for 2 hours, for a moment to take you away from the stress of, you know,
From everything,
home or
yes.
work or school, yeah, and just
And
have a moment to just relax.
it's really, you know, and that's, you know, for me, when I think about soca music and I'm thinking, you know, the vibes that you get from Carnival and all that, you know, from the other islands that have, you know, every island have their own flavor that they add,
For sure.
you know,
Yeah.
but it still seems like it's been difficult, you know, to get people here in America to really embrace it, you know, or
Yeah.
it's just the exposure that we give. You know, maybe there's so much love in other parts of the world that it's not necessarily being, you know, forced upon people
Yes.
here, you know.
Correct. Yeah.
And you feel like automatically you feel like, man, these people are missing out, you know, people, and you want to
Yeah.
share it. But
Yeah,
you know, like
correct.
anything, as a change agent, you know, you have to, you know, get in their face over and
Of
over and
course,
over and over before
yeah,
they
definitely.
they
And
can
I
love
mean,
it, you know.
we're definitely seeing it grow because as you would know, primarily most festivals, carnivals, or
Yes.
shows
Melvin,
kind of
we have
started in the.
we have 10 seconds. Let me come right back
Sure.
and
I mean,
and
jump
log
on.
back
Sure,
into
no
the
problem.
live.
That's fine.
All right.
Yeah, cool.
All right.